the winner and new lightweight champion of Ireland, Peter Mcdonagh.
Outside the boxing ring, my life was exactly the same. Up, down, up, down, up, down. 4 days later, I'll get a phone call. Your brother's hung himself. And I was digging his grave, and I just, floods of tears come out.
Gunmen, they come into the Regency, there was a boxing dude going on.
Mate, I'll just see the one with the flat cap turn around, pull a gun out.
Daniel Kinahan.
People say, oh, you defending this, you defending that. I'm not defending nothing. I believe if he weren't around at that point in my life, I would be in a bad place now, 100%.
Hi guys, welcome back to the platform. We're really taking a different turn now with some really impactful top-level guests and unbelievable inspirational stories of resilience. I have another amazing story for you. Someone who was a three-weight Irish champion, but this doesn't even scratch the surface. We're talking a big story here from Ireland that goes all the way through. Someone who knew Daniel Kinahan, who was a champion, who was known by so many people in Ireland, but who has overcome so much in his own life. Today I have Peter Mcdonagh. For people out there, Peter, who are you?
Who am I? Do you know what? I ask myself that question a lot of the time. And, you know, being born in Ireland, coming to the UK at the age of 6, not being able to speak a word of English, no blacks, no dogs, no Irish in the 80s. The IRA were very prolific. So from the day I landed in England, I had to learn how to fight and literally fight in every way. When I boxed in Ireland and I become an Irish champion, was I really given the credit for it? I don't believe I was. When I'm in the UK, people say I'm Irish. So I know what I am. I'm Irish through and through. I've always had the tricolours on and always been proud of where I'm from. But that is one of the hardest questions people ask, and I'll never ever work out whether I'm Irish or English, you know, or how people take me as Irish or English.
I understand, I really do. You know, like I said, I had that same transition, kind of, not so much a conflict, I always knew what I was, but I suppose I had to be different things at different times, Peter, and you know, sometimes for me, definitely, I didn't know who I was either. Part of the thing was to find that. But look, you know, you're the real deal when it comes to boxing, but there's so much more to you. You was born in Galway. Yeah. Connemara, which is a wonderful part of the world. Connemara marble, I always remember it. I've got a bit, of course. But where did it start? What was it like? What was the early days like, Peter?
Well, we had a beautiful bit of land overlooking the Doline Beach, which is a coral beach in Carrow, a place called Reen, which, if you looked across the sea from the hill where my house was on, the closest place was New York. It was absolutely beautiful. We had our own animals. We literally fed off the land. And I always remember happy memories of there. I've been there with my mum, my dad, my brother and my sister. My mum was heavily pregnant with my younger brother. And we ended up just getting up one night and we was told we're moving to England. And we literally moved in the middle of the night. Just life was good. And then being landed in the middle of Bermondsey. I remember coming over on a boat, coming over Tower Bridge and landing in the middle of Bermondsey. And I mean, it was like going from the middle of nowhere to Las Vegas. There was lights everywhere.
But why? So you're there, you know, everything's really good. Why did you have to move like that?
I still don't know till today why we had to move like that. But obviously, we moved in with my cousins. There was 9 of us in a 2-bedroom flat. We ended up moving to a property called Giles House, which was on Jamaica Road. Never moved off Jamaica Road as a kid. Some happy times and some sad times there, but very good people there as well, you know.
Oh, the best. And do you know what? I'm laughing, Pete, because I think when you describe them days, it reminds me of our days. We used to have coats on the bed, I kid you not. Yeah. Coats on the bed. We didn't have all this fancy stuff. It's very rough, very ready, right? You know, but great people. But look, you know, I also remember it was, you know, it's very tough to come from a place like that and then go to such a different place like Bermondsey, you know, right in the middle of South East London there. What was that like for you?
We pulled up with this lorry, and I remember standing there at the bottom of the block of the flats and people screaming, "Go back to Ireland, you Irish CUNTs," and all that. And I remember neighbours shouting down, "Don't worry, don't listen to them people." They was Irish, next door neighbours. And they said, "What you got in that lorry? Do you need any help?" Before like they could come down, we'd come up with what we had. We had a single mattress, and we all had to sleep on a single mattress when we first moved into the house.
Bermondsey's a great place. There's a lot of Irish families in Bermondsey. But you had a lot of racism there, or how was it?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt, because I couldn't speak a word of English, so talking like Cockney how I do now, believe me, after 6 months I was talking like Cockney, because if you didn't change, you was going to get it for the rest of your life. For me, you know, it was another turning point in my life. So I went from the turning point of coming from somewhere beautiful to moving to Bermondsey. So that's why I always pursue myself, you know, obviously I'm Irish and I was born there, but it was a great time of my life. So that's why I always remember my happy times there. My mum was out all the time and drinking. She was an alcoholic. I used to watch my mum abuse my sister, beat her with an iron, and you know, it was horrible to see. And one day my dad just got up and said, this can't keep carrying on. But at the same time, my mum was having an affair with someone else. And my dad then said, "Right, you got to go, but take the kids with you because you're the mother." It was a bit different with my mum and dad, because literally my mum wore the trousers. She did wear the trousers. You know, she'd go out and my dad would be working 7 days a week and all that sort of stuff. And what I missed out there as well is, you know, when I first started school there as well, you know, I was going to school taking a beating and I was coming home and taking a beating, you know, to a degree off my mum. My dad was always a great man, and he was always quite the soft one. My mum was, you know, controlled him to a degree, and you know, she'd be out doing what she was doing. My dad absolutely worshipped the ground she walks on. He's still married to her today, you know. It's crazy, but it's the old Catholic, you know, how they was in the olden days. But like I say, I wouldn't change it for anything, you know. Things I've been through, I think it's made me stronger as a person. It's definitely made me stronger as a person. And then we found out my mum was going to leave, but she wasn't going to take none of us with her. We had moved by this point to another. My brother was only 18 months, my younger brother, Martin, was only 18 months. And we moved to another block just across the road called Rayburn. And I remember one day my mum come in and she took her bags. My dad said, "Are you going to take them with you?" And she said, "No, I don't want to take them with me. You can have them." And then she walked out the door, and I thought, I didn't know what I was going to do. I seen my dad try and hang himself. I seen my dad try and drown himself. So my dad tried to commit suicide a couple of times, and that was very, very heavy on the family, on us as a family. You know, she was out all the time, and my dad had found out through someone. We was at a wedding one night, and that's when it all went to loggerheads. I ended up going and staying with my friend that night, and then it sort of all snowballed from there. So for me, I then had to find something which was going to help me get through life, you know.
Yeah, look, we definitely need our mother and father, if we're lucky enough to have that. You stayed with your father, right? You know, and there was Tish and there was Liam, right? How was it after your mother left then? So how did you guys cope?
So there was Tish, there was Liam, and there was Martin. Martin was only 18 months, my younger brother. So it was my sister become the mother. Like, so she was bringing us up. She was only 13 at the time. My dad was working like 7 days a week. Liam was sort of like, he'd go and try and get what he could money-wise. I was still young at the time, so it was maybe they got the brunt of it. They got more of the brunt of it than what me and Martin did. You know, my sister was changing Martin's nappies. She was only 13 years old herself, so she had to become a mother. But in them days, it's not the same now, but in them days, it's very, very unusual for a mother to leave 4 kids. It was in the 80s. It was an unbelievable time. So my dad was very, very unusual to be a dad on his own with 4 kids. So for my sister, it must have been unbelievably hard. Not for us boys as much, but for a girl, it must have been unbelievably hard. You know.
She took that role in it. So look, you know, you're right in the middle of it there, certainly in Bermondsey, know it very well. The times, I get all that. There's a lot of hardship, you know, and all that stuff. So what was you like? Was you like the likely lad? Was you always told, look, you know, no matter what we do, who we fight or whatever, we need to be straight? Or did you stray a bit? Or what was the influences? How hard was it to get forward in some kind of way?
I was lucky. My older brother Liam, he brought me to the boxing club, and I met the role model, the biggest inspiration in my life, Steve Iser. I'll get a little bit choked up about this now because he's not long before he's going to pass. He's got cancer through and through. At the moment, I talk about him in my book, at the start of my book, and he was the biggest inspiration in my life. But as you know, in Bermondsey, it's very, very hard to stay on the straight line, as they say. So I would dip in and out of the gym. I would be going to the gym, and then I'd have a fight, and then I'd dip out of the gym and be messing around on the streets and all that sort of stuff. But I always was told, like, don't bring the police to the door. I don't want no police coming to the door. You know, I'm bringing you up on my own. My dad, my dad's, a straight going man. So I did bring the police to the door one day, and it was either you bring them police to the door ever again, and you're out of the house. My dad was all about respect, and like he didn't want to see, because he was on his own, that he was failing, because he's such a proud man. So and what a man he is. So I went back up to Steve. Steve gave me the same sort of the Rights Act, and said, look, if you keep doing what you're doing, you can't box anymore. And boxing was my religion. Boxing was where I was at my happiest time, and I never understood this till later in my life, that boxing is a self-harming tool for me, and it was a self-harming tool for me.
There's a wonderful part, I loved in the book. When you went out, you was throwing it about a bit maybe, so you come back, it got you in the ring with two older guys who was a little bit more you at the time, took you up and down from pillar to post a little bit, right? One in, another one in, and he said, look, we don't build bullies here, we build characters and champions. I love that. I mean, you was very young then, right, on your journey, but I thought that said so much, not just about the ethos there and the times, but the man himself, right? Do you know what I mean?
I never only went around the block in boxing, I went around the world in boxing. Yeah. And you know what, he was the type of character that, your feet weren't on the ground, your knees were on the ground. So you never ever would lift off the ground, wherever you went in life. And he's still got that character till today. He's still with us here today, and he's still got that character. And I'm going to be a little bit controversial here to people out there that think things are good in life now, how they've turned around and all that. I'll totally disagree. I think now in life, things, like a kid getting punched up and down the ring, I think that teaches you respect. And there's a very, very thin line between being scared of someone and having respect for someone. But I think they're both literally the same thing in my degree, in my aspect. You know what I mean? I think you've got to be a little bit fearful so you don't take liberties. Do you know what I mean? And that works both ways. And I think that's something which, it stays with me forever. I was very, very young when it happened to me. And there's always someone bigger and always someone harder than you. And even if they ain't bigger or harder than you, they're going to get you another way.
I mean, look, when you fought Gomez, right, for the Irish title, right, there's a lot, talk about the controversy around that. But it had enough. It obviously had enough, and he turned his back in you, and that was in Dublin Stadium in front of 2.5 million people in Ireland. I think there's only 3 million people in Ireland anyway. And the others who would have been watching, but that's quite a statistic. But look, with the fear, we're talking about the fear. How does it work in you, and how would you get over the fear, Peter? Right?
Do you know what? I think I was scared from life outside the ring. So when I was in the ring, I felt comfortable, and it felt like it was my front room. It sounds crazy, and people go, what? Of course I got nervous, because you need nerves. Nerves are great to have, and I just turned the nerves to excitement, because nerves, excitement and anxiety are three of the same things. It's just how you channel them within your brain, it's one of them things where boxing is 90% mental and 10% physical. That's a fact. That's a fact. I've walked out of pubs with 10 pints of Guinness in me. 4 days later, took a fight. I've been mentally in the right place and I've won the fight. I've had fights where I've had 12 weeks where I've been clean as they come, trained like a lunatic. My head's not there, and box absolutely. Listen, turn up like Roy Jones, dress like Roy Jones, but fight like Tom Jones.
Yeah. Roy Jones has left the building. Right?
Yeah.
He come back,
Tom
right?
Tom
Jones. Here's another one, Peter. So you learn a lot more from a defeat than you would from a win. But how true is that in the cold light of day, Rick?
Depends how you lose, firstly. An L don't mean a loss, as long as you're learning from that loss. You know, it's different if you keep getting knocked flat on your back, Sparko, or, you know, there's dangers within boxing then. But if you lose, just, you know, you've done something wrong, or maybe if you've been beat by the better man, you know, you can always come back and make yourself better. But I don't look at boxing like that, because I've always looked at life before boxing. And when we talk about, oh, you know what, there's a lot of downs, right? There's got to be ups, because we've got to know the difference between ups and downs. So the way I see it is, we lose in life. We all lose in life. You know, whether it's a family member, whether we lose to addictions, whether we lose to something else, but we can always come back, and we can always come back stronger. You know, and that's the same way as I treated boxing. And with the difference with my boxing and my life is this: when you look at my boxing career, it was like a last put machine, up and down, up and down, up and down. But at the same time, I'm outside the boxing ring. My life was exactly the same: up, down, up, down, up, down. You know, and I've had things happen in my life that are much bigger than losing with a big pair of pads on your hands and a pair of shorts on running around the ring. You know, so maybe I think boxing people, especially professional boxing, are brought along in the wrong way. 20 for learning and 10 for earning. Well, I'll totally take away from that saying, because you have 20 to learn, and by the time you've had 2 to earn, you get knocked out. Because the learning fights, you're not even learning in them, because you ain't getting guided in the right direction. For me, now, me working with professional fighters, they will be brought along a totally different way. I'm not saying throw him in there to get killed, but put him in there to learn. You know, learn how to fight properly. People say pro boxing is different to amateur boxing. Pro boxing is no different to amateur boxing. It's exactly the same. You wear a smaller pair of gloves, but that's it. There's a couple of tricks of the trade. I'm not disputing that. Yeah, but they say it's a business. Yeah, but it is a business. But as long as the business is run right. So I'm here to change. I like to change things, and I'm here to try and change. Not try. I'm going to change for my fighters. It changed their narrative to 20 for learning and 10 for earning. I want my fighter to be earning money straight away, not 20 for learning so someone else can be earning. So Peter, read the book, you know, Irish Blood and Grit. Like I say, it really kind of pulled me and affected me, because especially in the early years, I had so much of the same thing on my journey. I really did. I really understood it. Bestseller already, you know, #1, you know, bestseller on the list. There's a lot of controversial people, controversial things that have happened in this book. So, Daniel Kinahan. You was in this, you know, a stable. You grew up with the Kinahans, of course, Ireland and all that. So, what happened there? What happened there? Yeah, no, we're going back a little bit now. My sister was in Ireland at this point. I'll rewind a little bit due to when I got out of prison. I went back to Ireland. I spent a lot of time with my sister. I'm near on turned into an alcoholic. I say I'm near on. I was drinking every day, so I must have been nearly. And she said, "You've got to sort yourself out, otherwise you're going to end up like your mum." And I thought, whoa. And she goes, "Go to England and turn professional." And that's what I've done. I turned professional, went to England and turned professional. A few years later, I got news my sister weren't well. She had cancer. But everything was good. They said they found it, breast cancer. So I got asked to go out and spar in Marbella with a kid called Bradley Saunders. So I went out to spar with Bradley Saunders. Great week out there. Bradley paid me because he was just about to have a title fight. Bradley had beat me probably 6 months before, and he did well beat me probably nearly every round. You know, could say it was a bad performance, but he beat me and he was a good fighter. And while I was out there sparring with him, as the days were going on, I was getting better and better and better. And this man was doing me corner. He said to me, "Jesus Christ, you can fight." And I said, "Yeah," but I said, "I've never been looked after." I said, "Nah, we're talking, I was 36 years old. It was towards the end of my career. I mean, 36 years old, people are usually home and dry by then. 30 years old, people are home and dry in boxing. But I was one of them, I was like a fine wine. I did get better as I got older." Anyways, so he kept saying to me, "You're doing really well, you're doing really well." And this was Daniel. So he said, "What would you be interested if we looked after you?" So I said, "Oh, I don't know, you know, I've been used and abused." And I was used and abused in boxing. I'll be open about that, you know. Maybe partly my calls, like I'd go, "Yeah, I'll fight him." I wouldn't even ask how much money. I'd be straight on there, straight on the train, straight to wherever I had to fight. So he said, "No, you know, we could help you. We see you still got something left." So I said, "Look, I've got problems going on with my sister in Ireland at the moment. I need to go back to Ireland to see her, blah, blah, blah." So he said, "Listen," he said, "if you want to come back, you're always welcome to come back, you know, and we'll look after you and do a bit of training over here with you, and you could do proper camps and things like that." So I went back to Ireland, went back to England. I got a phone call from my sister. My sister said, "You know, it's got worse, Pete. It's grown back. It's gone into my brain now. I don't know what's going to happen." But she still didn't want to tell me the most. But then I rang up Daniel and I said to him, and I was speaking to him backwards and forwards, just like he was asking how my sister was and all that. And I said, "I've been told that, you know, she ain't got that long to live." And then I got a phone call not long after. It was near on New Year's Eve. And someone said to me, "Listen, Pete," it was my aunt, she said, "she's going to die within the next couple of days or the next day. Can you get back?" I didn't have no money really or nothing to get back or anything. So I spoke to Daniel and I said to him, "Look, Dan," I said, "I've got to get back to see my sister, but I'm struggling at the moment. You know, I ain't boxed in so long and all that." So "No problems, I'll get you the flights to get back there." She was in a hospice. 6 days later, I lost my sister. But while she was on her deathbed dying, I said to her, "Listen, Tish," I said, I swear, I promise, if I go back boxing, I'll never lose again. I know I needed it again now because my head was all over the place. I was talking about retiring and all that at that point. But so she died in Ireland. As we do it, we dig the grave, we bury them ourselves. It's very personal, which
it's very personal funerals. They're
nice.
Very big in Ireland.
Yeah, massive. And then I flew back out to Spain a couple of weeks later, and I said to Daniel, "I don't know whether I want to do it." And I said, but he said, "But what are you going to do? You're going to end up getting yourself into trouble or something, you know? This is what's kept you on the straight and narrow." We spoke about it before. We had personal conversations about what boxing done for me. I told him about my life, and all he ever tried to do was direct me in the right situation. And I said, "All right," I said, "Here's my hand, here's my bond." I said, "No contracts here." I said, "If I lose again, I'm retiring," which I promised my sister, and she promised me never lose again. And like I say, the rest is history. I shook his hand. I went with him, and I never lost again. I had 13 with him, unbeaten. I was the oldest fighter in Britain until the brain tumour came along. And like I say, you know, take people for how you see them, and you know, we hear a lot of stories and people say, "Oh, you defending this, you defending that." I'm not defending nothing. I'm defending what that man done for me and how good he is to me, how good he was to me, how you know, how he's helped me through hard times in my life. You know what I mean? Because I'm telling you now, I believe if he weren't around at that point in my life, I would be in a bad place now, 100%.
You can only give your truth.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter who says what or what they think or what. That's for them, right? So, you know, what would you say about Daniel Kinahan, the man? It's important to say this as well because there's so much stuff from all different sides in the press. But what would you say about the man himself? What you knew, what he was like? I mean, obviously he was a friend to you.
Very loyal, respectful. You know, and steered me in the right direction in life. You know, I've gone in the right direction, and my life's definitely gone in the right direction. Yeah, there's been ups and downs since, you know, since I come away from Marbella, since I come away from everything like boxing out there. You know, I moved back to the UK. I wanted to spend more time with my family. I wanted to. Then I started training with Peter Fury. So yeah. So like I say, I can only say what he done for me. You know, papers and things ringing me up saying, "Well, what do you think of the US sanctions?" Well, I don't know about the US sanctions.
Don't know anything about that.
Yeah.
Look, there was another, you know, on the back of that was you was there at another really iconic time, really, right? You know, in Irish history, criminal history, gangland history, whatever you want to call it, right? Was in Dublin, in the Regency, when, you know, it's been all over the press and everything, Peter, as you know, where gunmen, they come into the Regency, there was a boxing do going on there was dressed as Garda and all this, and, you know, someone unfortunately lost their life in there, right? You was there, wasn't you, that night?
Yeah.
Take us through that. What happened that night?
Well, it was a daytime weigh-in, about 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and we was all in the Regency, all chatting and laughing and joking, and all of a sudden, someone come in with a wig on, with another geezer with a flat cap, as you know, everyone knows. Mate, I'll just see the one with the flat cap turn around, pull a thing out, pull a gun out, put it to the ceiling, bang, mate. Everyone hit the floor. I thought, forget that, I'm out of here, mate. Boom, I bolted out the doors. On my way out, I see other people starting to run in this way, you know, with the AK-47s. Bang, I've gone right, straight down, chucked myself in a broom cupboard, you know. So, yeah, it was a frightening time, but I think what I've been through in life till that day, it's sort of like, it's just, I don't know. I've had a mad life. I've had a crazy life.
It kind of gets you like that. What is like for other people? They go, "Oh my God," you know, like it doesn't faze you in the same way at all when you've had a crazy life.
Yeah.
Which is really strange to say, but it's the truth. I mean, on that time in the Regency that night, the guy who got killed in there that night, you was with him just before, weren't you?
Yeah.
And he went left, and you went right, you know, and of course he lost his life, right? And you got out of there, right? You know, you got out of it. What happened then with that was, you know, because you was right there in the middle of that then.
Yeah, well, like, God rest his soul, David Byrne, you know, may rest in peace, and to his family, you know, condolences to all his family. And, you know, I stayed in the Regency that night as well, but I stayed in the Regency that night due to, I wanted to go down to my sister's grave in Connemara the next day and look at the sky and just say to her, you know what, you was looking over me, because it could have been me. They weren't going home to my family. He ain't gone home to his family. Do you get what I mean? So, again, people are great writing stories about things and people and all that sort of stuff, but someone's life's been lost, so it's...
And the real life stuff right there, you know, paints a different story, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it does.
The real stuff.
You know, whatever someone's done or whatever someone ain't done, it's not nice to see, is it? It's not nice to... No.
Going on from that as well, you know, guys, it's all in the book as well, this stuff, you know, and a lot more. It's quite a read, right? There's going to be a link underneath in the thing, and you can go there, get it very easily. So, you know, your sister, which was like your surrogate mother, and I get that too because of what I had, my Aunt Madge, which was my surrogate mother. See all these similarities, right? You know, with the Irish thing, and but then more real terrible, you know, trauma to the family was going to strike, you know, because your brother, Liam, he was to lose him too, right? So what happened there with that?
I mean, I remember 2019, no more self-harming after the brain tumour, 15-hour operation, told I weren't going to walk for so long, told I weren't going to do this, but broke records in doing that as well. 4 days after the operation, I remember waking up a day after the operation and saying to Candice, who's my wife, around me, there was a couple of people around me at the time, and I said, this is it, I've lost my brother. And literally I've lost my brother within boxing, because it was like, boxing was my brother. Like it was what helped me get through life. It was my coping mechanism, you know, of when I was saying I'd lost my brother, I was all about boxing. 4 days later, I'll get a phone call, your brother's hung himself. And I never ever thought he would have done it, my older brother. So I lost my older sister, my older brother, so now there's only me and Martin, my younger brother. And how was I gonna survive with it? How was I gonna get through this? Because guess what? If I had the gym, if I could go back and fight, I think I would have got through it easier than what I have got through it. And that put me in a serious dark place, you know. Pulled myself away from the whole world, stayed indoors, sit there and look at trees for 12 hours a day. Honestly, look out my window at trees and just stare at them. Candice would come home, she'd say to me, what have you done today? And I'd say, yeah, I've done this, I've done that. I ain't done nothing. I've just sat there and looked at these trees. And I never knew that I was in a dark place though. And I kept, I'm all right. So what happened was, because he died not long around the COVID time, we kept his ashes with us. We didn't have the money to fly him to Ireland or do anything, bring him to Ireland. So I said, once COVID's over, I want to bring him to Ireland and bury him with my sister. And in 2022, December, I went to Ireland and I was digging his grave, and I just, floods of tears come out. I never had no emotion for my sister's funeral. I never had no emotion for my brother's funeral, really. And you know that, you lose emotion within what you go through in life.
You do, you know, and it was, you know, I have to say the same, I was so devoid of emotion for so long. Yeah. But when I did manage to get to that point where I could cry, I couldn't stop.
Yeah. You
know, I couldn't, you know, it was like that. It was like that for you.
Yeah, definitely. It was, I went back with my mate Tony, as I say, the actor out of EastEnders, and I didn't even tell him the emotion that I was going through, but there was floods of tears. I was digging the hole in the grave, and the tears going down it. Maybe I'm here to talk like this because I'm here to help other people, you know, because I'm a living proof of every day you've got to keep fighting for something else to keep moving forward.
No. There's one thing that I've learned of all the people I, you know, met, it doesn't matter who they are, wherever they are, is that all of us, we're here, and it's not, we have a message to give the world. Yes. Whether that's being an architect and doing buildings, painting a picture, being a champion boxer, you know, whatever it is, it's that gift. You know, it's kind of down to us to uncode that a little bit as well. But look, thanks for coming on the platform.
Cheers, thank you very much. Thank you. Cheers.
Amazing story, you know, really, and you know, the book is there, guys. Get it. You won't be disappointed. And look, I really wish you well with everything, my brother. And thanks for coming on.
That's right, thank you.